Hello class. In this video, we'll be taking a look at Access Pause and Practice 2-2, Chapter 2, Pause and Practice 2. For this, you will need your file, Pause and Practice A2-1, the one that you completed in your earlier Pause and Practice. I have it open here, which has a table called Equipment. And let's go. The second task is to save the database in as pp access2-2. So I'm going to rename the file and say file, save as, and save the database as, I'm going to rename the file as ppa2-2. Okay, so make sure that file is renamed and then click enable content, make sure that it's editable, and then let's go to the next task. Open the equipment table in design view. So click on this, and then whenever you open the file, it gets opened in datasheet view. So let's go to design view. It goes to design view. Okay, and then you go click on row selector for the equipment ID, which is this. So you can click on this. It selects the whole row. Go to the validation rule property box. These are the property boxes, field properties. Go to the validation rule, and we're going to give a validation rule for this equipment ID. So you want it to be five numbers. So you want to type like. So you have to type like, and within single quotations, type 5 hash signs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then in the validation text property box, you type the equipment ID must contain 5 numbers. So if you, by error, if you enter any other data other than 5 numbers, it's going to display this text as the error message. Okay, now click enter. That means you've done it. And now let's go and test the validation rule. Okay, switch to datasheet view. Go back, make sure you save the file, click OK. Do you want to test? Click no. Okay, let's go and say, go to datasheet view. And now let's go and click on append here. Okay, type in the equipment ID. I'm going to type a new one called A1212. Okay, this is 5 digits, but it's still not numbers because there is an alphabet. When I hit enter, it's going to give me an error message. Okay, there you go. See, it says the equipment must contain 5 numbers, which is what the validation text that I entered there. Okay, so click OK to acknowledge the error. That means there is a mistake, and then go back and delete the contents. And you could type 1, 2, 3. So you could have enter. Okay, so again, it tells you the equipment ID must contain 5 numbers, meaning this is also an error. Okay, so I go back and click on this and say it has to have 5 digits. So I'm going to go and type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now this is correct. So when I hit enter, it's going to, yes, so it accepts the data entry. Okay, so that's how you enter validation text. Okay, now let's switch back to design view and then add a record validation rules for, let's go to the next one and display property sheet in the equipment table if necessary. Okay, so let's go to the tables tool, design, show and hide. So let's go to table tools, design. In the show and hide group, you have property sheet here. Okay, when you click on that, it displays the property sheet on the side here. Okay, so in that display property sheet, click on the validation rule property, which is here, validation rule. Now we go to task 7. Task 7 is display the property sheet. So okay, task 7. Now we are in task 7 now. So click on the property sheet to display the property sheet. You can click on table tools, design, and click the property sheet. This will appear here. And here you will have to click the validation box here. You see the validation rule. Click here, the validation rule. It might you might not be able to see properly, but let me just make it a little bigger for you. Validation rule. When you click on validation rule here, click on the validation rule and click on the build property, build or builder, or you could even type here. Okay, so validation rule, click on this. So when you click on this build, it automatically brings up the builder. So here you're going to type this content, enter weekly rate. Weekly rate should be then, if you want, you can also click on this and drag it. There you go, like that. Uh, there. You can also double click this, or you can type here anyway. And you could also double click monthly rate should be greater than weekly rental rate. You could also do it this way and click OK. All right. And then validation text, you need to enter this text exactly like that. So if you want, you could, I'm not sure if you could copy and paste it. You could, if you want, or you could just type it here. Say the weekly rate. Let me just see what is the text here. It has to say the weekly rate. You can type or copy and paste. If it is allowing you to copy and paste, must be greater than the daily rate, and the monthly rate must be greater than the weekly rate. Okay, that's click. Okay. Once when you're done, you could click and then you can close the property window. Okay, you could click the property window, and then we're going to test the validation rule now. So make sure you're saved, and then now click no. If whenever it's asks you, it's asking you if you want to test the existing data, click no, because it's asked us to do that. Weekly rate, could not find a weekly rate. So there is an error. Let's go back to property sheet and click here and see. Say weekly rate. I made a mistake because it should say weekly rental rate. You see that here it says the field name is wrong. It says weekly rate here, and here it's weekly rental rate. So I got to go back and correct it. So do not make a mistake. All the things here should match the field names here. Okay, so now I entered it correctly. So let's go. Now I can close it. Now I'm going back to switch to datasheet view. If there is an error, it will not let you switch to datasheet view. Uh, okay. Okay, so again, I have a problem, so I will have to go back to property sheet and click on this and make sure that this is right. See my weekly rental rate. See, there is an error. Okay, so I just have to go correct it. These field names here in the brackets, in the parentheses, have to match the field names in the table. Okay, click OK. Now everything should be okay. Close the database. Now I go back and save it and say no, say OK, and then I go back and check to the datasheet view. No, okay. There's still an error now. Okay, now that I've entered the validation rule and the validation text, I can close this, and then I'm going to go test the data. So check the validation. Okay, now we're going to test the validation. I mean, testing the record validation date. So switch to datasheet view. This will show you all the data in here. So for the equipment ID 06983, if it asks you to test the existing data, click no. Save the file. Okay, for equipment ID 9863, which is go and select 0.00 in the daily rental rate. Okay, yes, and then type 160 instead of 160. Enter. The daily rental rate, I'm going to enter 160. Okay, yes, and then I'm going to hit enter. In the weekly rental rate, I'm going to enter 160 again. Okay, now in the monthly rental rate, type 160. Okay, now, and then when I press the arrow down or press enter, see, it's giving me an error saying the weekly rental must be greater. Because I've entered the same amount for all the three, it is giving me that message that I had entered there as a validation text. Okay, so I have to acknowledge the error here and then go back. In the monthly rental rate, I'm going to type 640. Okay, so in the monthly rental rate, it's going to be 640, enter, and in the weekly rental rate, it's going to be 640. Okay, let's try this again. This should return an error because the weekly rental and monthly rental are the same. Again, it should give you an error message. This is how you validate the database by by not letting the user enter wrong data. Okay, right, acknowledge the error, delete the contents in the monthly rate, and then type it down arrow. Let's go down and enter it as 1920. That's the next task. Okay, now if you see, the daily rental rate is less than the weekly rental rate, and the weekly rental rate is less than the monthly rate. So it's all good. So it allows you to go to the next thing. So this is how you check if your validation rule is working that you entered. Okay, right. Next is modifying category field. Switch to design view of the table. So go to the view, click to design view. Now click the row selector on the category field. So go to the category, select the field, and then type data type property box here, data type. Okay, select the data type property box. This is the data type property box. So make sure that the category is selected, and then go to the data type property box, and then it says click on lookup wizard. This allows you to give your own values. So lookup wizard, and then you have to say I will type my own values. Say in the radio button here, click next, and then we're going to give our own values. So in the first column, we're going to type generators. Second one, we're going to type hand tools. Third one, we're going to type plumbing. Next one, we're going to type sawing, comma, cutting, and grinding. Okay, and then you say tractors. All right, click next. Okay, click limit to list checkbox, and then click finish. Okay, now let's go test this. Add an input mask to the date purchased field. Okay, so this one, because we've entered the tools, if you go back now and check, let's save this file. What does this lookup wizard do is when you go to the datasheet view, here you go. When you go to category, it lets you choose from one of the lists that we have provided. That's what is lookup wizard. Okay, you don't have to enter everything by hand, by keyboard. You can select it just like that. That's what the lookup wizard works. Okay, let's go back to the next task, which is adding an input mask. An input mask is on the date purchased because you don't want anyone to see the date purchased. So you can add an input mask. Click on the input mask property here, and then you click the builder tool, or you click on this. Either way, whichever is easier, click on this, and then in that you are going to select medium date, which is here, and then next button. Click the next button, and then you are going to finish. Okay, so click finish. Okay, then set the required property as yes. Okay, from no, you're going to change it to yes, and the date, and then product name and all of them to all of them. Okay, so go to product name, change the required to yes, meaning they will not be able to leave it blank. Name, category, daily rental rate, all of them have to be changed to yes. So let's go to required. Yes, they're all required fields, meaning they will have to enter a value in that in order to go through. That's what we're doing here. Okay, Right. Comments, you can just leave it as no. If you want, you can write comments, or you don't have to. It's not a required field. Okay. Right. Next is switch to datasheet view. Let's save the before that. Click no and just